Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show, and joined today by master musician Randy Brecker. Welcome to the program.
Thanks.
Can you talk a little bit about the opportunity you had to learn your craft and also get paid? When I talked to Stafford James, he said you wound up at the Electric Circus with Dreams. He was with Chelsea Beige. And you spent a full year there with instruments, rehearsing, practicing, and getting paid. And that was a pretty good apprenticeship. And you talked about getting sucked into all these genres. Can you just talk to younger people about the opportunities that you had to not just hone your skills, but also get paid for your stuff at the Electric Circus?
Well, I don't recall really that. I mean, we played at the Electric Circus and got paid. Stafford, I think, was playing with someone else one night, but we rehearsed it somewhere else.
You didn't have the year gig at the Electric Circus where there was
No.
Didn't work like that?
Well, we didn't have a gig there for a year. Nobody did. We played there a few times, probably maybe a weekend. We played at the Village Gate quite a bit. We were kind of a house band there. Weekends. Maybe a little more. You know, it's 50 years ago, so it's a little far.
But you said about you were working the scene. That was one of the issues, things that we talked about.
Yeah. There was a lot of a lot more opportunity than there is now. We were also doing sessions and playing around town. Electric Circus was indeed one of the places, and there was a place below that called the Dom. That was a small club. Electric Circus was a bigger club, and I know Dreams played there. I have some pictures, but and I heard, I don't know, Sha Na Na there, and
yeah.
I think I heard Linda Ronstadt or somebody there, where it was kind of a hangout too.
Can you talk about the songs that you create? Why Can't I Find a Home? You wrote lyric. You sang that. I mean, you were a singer too. Can you talk about singing? You're singing.
I don't think of myself as a singer. The one I wrote that tune and somebody else sang it. Why Can't I Find a Home? But there was another tune on that record called Imagine My Surprise.
Absolutely.
On the Dreams record, and that I did sing, but it was what we call a work vocal because Will Lee, who was playing bass, was supposed to sing it. But they kind of liked what I did, and we did some crazy shit at the end. Just everybody, playing anything, and I kind of scat sang, and then I was working on another tune, and I recited some lyrics that I had started. So, but back then I started to write lyrics vaguely and songs, and started to write. I also wrote the horn arrangement on that. I think that might have been my first horn arrangement on Imagine My Surprise.
But I do want you to talk to the audience. Most people know you as an instrumental improviser, but you did sing these tunes. I mean, you even talked about Gralnick playing that song, Just Be Yourself.
Yeah.
But that particular tune, where did that theme come from? That's a great tune. I listened to it. I played drums to it today.
Oh, Just Be Ourselves?
No. The Why Can't I Find a Home? Or Why Can't I Find My Home? It's such a great tune.
I don't know. I just wrote it on the piano and wrote some lyrics. It's, like I said, a long time ago. But at the same time, I was, we might have talked about this before. I was, when I played with Horace back then, he was on the side writing lyrics. He wrote lyrics to all his tunes, as simple as some of them were. And later, he really got into writing lyrics. So I kind of did that too. In my spare time, I liked playing with words and tried to fit lyrics to some tunes, or sometimes I had some rhymes and I'd fit tunes to the rhymes. And as it happened, after that started on the Brecker Brothers records, I usually sang or wrote one tune that I had lyrics. So we would do one tune a record. Some of them were, I was trying to be kind of wry, it was kind of wry humor, some ironic stuff, and sarcastic, tongue-in-your-cheek kind of stuff, but it was always fun to do. I still like doing it. I don't have that much to write about, though, anymore.
Why is that? Well, I think you do, though. You don't think...
Not lyrically, I don't know. By then, this was single, you know.
I love that secondary. I love those, the vocals. I mean, the dude that was singing them sang it well. but it was such a great tune, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. He's a great singer.
Eddie Vernon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice tune, and a good record. Didn't get that much recognition though, as we were going through personnel changes and a lot of stuff was going on, but it was a lot of fun to do, and it was a great horn section.
Randy, this is important. I really want you to, most cats, I want this on the record for people in 50 years when they're trying to figure this out. You were the first cat to put a wah pedal to the trumpet.
Well, as far as I know.
No, but I mean, what does that mean? I mean, all your peers were around too. People, I put this up and people said, I just wanted, because Miles, tell the story of Miles coming to see you and saying, wow, I dig that.
Well, I'll tell, it's a little long story, but we had John Abercrombie in the band, to Dreams. We added him, we thought we needed a guitarist, and he was really a jazzer, you know, and to play rock, pretty much on every tune he used a wah-wah pedal.
Right.
And we loved what he did with it. One day we were rehearsing around the Electric Circus time, but we had a place where we rehearsed called Baggies, which we did rehearse every day. That's where the confusion was.
It was down on the Lower West Side somewhere?
Yeah, somewhere, in Soho.
Right.
And
that's where Mahavishnu started.
Yeah, he might even rehearse the same place. And we did rehearse there every day because we had time. We weren't that busy yet in studio work. And then, lost my train of thought.
Miles
one day, Abercrombie couldn't make the rehearsal, but his trusty wah-wah was just sitting in front of the amp. And we were using these things called condors, which were made by Hammond, and they kind of had gurgly sound. They had little things they could screw around with the sounds. So I had a 1/4-inch jack, and the wah-wah was sitting there, so I just plugged it into the system, and it worked great on trumpet. Sounded just really great. So I started using it every night. And Miles would, all I can say is Miles would come and hear us all the time at the Village Gate, not at Electric Circus. We had a pretty steady gig there on weekends and never say anything to anybody, but you could always tell when he was there. Everybody would say, Miles is here, Miles is here, and you could see him walking, and he always sat in the back of the room. When I was playing the wah-wah and Billy was playing his butt off, and eventually he hired Billy for a tune on Bitches Brew, and I think Billy got credit, but now he does. And through the years, I started playing with Billy. Still had my wah-wah, a couple other things. This is a long story.
I love it. It's great.
And Jim Rose, who lived out in Long Island, we used to play then in a place called My Father's Place. And it was like a running joke. Jim Rose, may he rest in peace, he just passed away not recently, was Miles' road manager. And always pointed at me and say, hey man, with that wah-wah, you're just trying to sound like Miles. And I would say, truthfully, and there's a mere footnote in jazz history, but as far as I know, I was using it. If I told him the whole story, how Miles would come down and hear it. And it became like a running joke between us. And then, cut to 10 years later, I was standing next to Miles at our club. We had a club called 7th Avenue South. And it was crowded one night, and I was standing next to him, so I held out my hand and introduced myself and said I was a big fan, and his response was nothing. He just kind of stared right through me, and I kind of walked away and said, well,
that didn't work.
I said, just shut the fuck up. But so I went downstairs. It was 2 floors, the club, and I was sitting at the end of the bar having vodka to soothe my nerves, and I hear a little wisp of air. This is about a half hour later. My left ear, and I hear, I love my wah-wah, you love your wah-wah. And he split. It was Miles. And that's the first thing he ever said to me. And later, I got to know him pretty well because he had discovered our club, and he came down a lot to the club. And
you guys actually own that club? The Brecker brothers own it?
Yeah, with a couple other people.
But just for the record, you never saw any other cat playing the wah pedal with the trumpet in a live setting before Abercrombie left it there?
No.
Okay.
Well, so nobody was really plugged in yet. Nobody even had the condors. They disappeared pretty quickly. Like I said, they had some organ stops, and all 3 of us, myself, Mike, and Barry Rogers, had those. But nobody had really stumbled upon using regular guitar effects on the horns until he left his wah-wah there. never heard anyone else use it, and then it became pretty popular. And then other effects worked well with the tenor, and so he started using a funk machine. That sounded great on that. And then I got a funk machine, and then we started piling up on the effects when we discovered that they worked pretty well on the horns.
Can you just talk to the cats watching worldwide about, like, with this gig tonight with Stern, you are going to leave this planet and enter one of colors and sounds, and it's almost indescribable, but like when you get on the bandstand with cats like this who can improvise, can you talk about the colors and the sounds and the multi-dimensional self of Randy Brecker?
Well, I like playing with these guys. We've been playing together off and on for years under various degrees. You know, Mike played with Brecker Brothers. I met Mike way back when he was in Boston. Stern, I'm talking about.
Mike Stern, yeah.
And, you know, I played with Mike's band, and we've done a million other projects, put together projects with Bob Berg throughout the years. All these guys, Tom Kennedy too. We go back to the 80s, and Weckel, whenever he came to town, did a million sessions and played in his band, played in our band. He played in Brecker Brothers. So we kind of can anticipate the next move sometime. Tonight it's going to be pretty well improvised because we're doing a lot of new stuff. That's why I'm back here with all these parts.
What are you doing exactly right now? I mean, someone would say a seasoned veteran like you. What did he do that changed up?
Well, they've been playing these new tunes. They just came back from a tour that I wasn't on, so they changed a lot of stuff. But what they're doing, the more you play, things change. And these parts weren't really too accurate in the first place. So, and they added a couple tunes, and so I'm trying to figure out, and we just had a rehearsal where he wanted to add some stuff. So it'll be great. And what's fun about it now is we're never sure what's happening next. Anybody, because Mike's trying some new stuff, which is good for him, I think.
I mean, is it a different setting than what you've done with Dreams? Like you say, what happens next? How is that different from other bands you've been in the past?
Well, there's always more of a program. Like, I don't even know which tunes we're going to play now. We're playing in 25 minutes. I don't even have a set list. I don't know which tunes we're going to play. He just kind of calls them at the last second.
Right.
With Dreams, because there were singers, we had to kind of have a set list. And usually when Mike has a new record out called Trip, so we're just kind of experimenting our way through what's on the record. Wow. And it's one thing when you record it, but it's another thing when you go out and start playing it live, so you try different things. Some things work, some things don't work, so it's in that stage of the process right now. But basically, you know, we play together so we can anticipate a lot of each other's moves, and especially Dave Weckel and Tom Kennedy, who have been playing together since they were teenagers.
The most free, did you go to Ornette's house quite a bit? Did you play a lot of free? What was the most free? Dreams was more of a funk rock thing. Yeah. Can you talk a little more about? I was blown away when you were talking about this this Cosmic Day, that you know, the Ornette session and then the Johnny Cash mariachi trumpet. But yeah. I was like, well, I'm like, Brecker, what was the most free setting that was outside of the Liebman Korea loft scene?
Well, that was the main thing, and that was Liebman's loft,
right?
And other people's lofts were just a bunch of guys would get together. No, and the answer to your question is no. The only time I played with Ornette was that day, and I was subbing for Lou Soloff, who was his regular trumpet player. Lou had an extreme upper register that I didn't have, and Ornette, when he played trumpet, by happenstance, had heard all the trumpet parts an octave above where most people heard him, and he just naturally played the trumpet in the stratosphere. But I had a great time at the rehearsal. I did what I could. It was a thrill to play with him. And then, ironically enough, I had to run from that rehearsal to a record date with Johnny Cash playing mariachi-style trumpets with Alan Rubin. So it's just a weird day that I never forgot. You know.
How do you, in our divided musical time where they cut things into genres now, and you got to, where you were able to just sort of immerse yourself in all different kinds of musics, what do you tell younger cats about how to play in as many different settings and not be a starving genius?
Well, I always recommend that, but to each his own. You know, there were people like Slide Hampton that I offered when he moved to town, by then we had the club, 7th Avenue South, and I was playing with them a bunch there. We had a 7th Avenue South All-Stars. That was part of the fun of having that club with Cedar and Slide. Who else?
That's straight ahead, man. That's really...
Yeah, it was great for me. I could play, we'd just call tunes. Reggie Workman did it a lot, and Al Foster. What was I saying with regards to...
Yeah.
Playing free.
Yeah, playing free.
Well, we did quite a bit of that too, mostly at Liedman's loft, but other lofts in the building at various times. Like I said, Chick lived there, although we didn't have many sessions at Chick's place. But
you were talking about the 1,600-foot studio you had. I mean, would there be times where just you'd play all night and then you'd go to the cash session? Like you just go to the session in the morning?
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a lot of sessions by maybe 72, so yeah, and every day was different. There was no rhyme or reason to it. You'd get called for the session the night before, generally, believe it or not. There was an answering service that would call and say, and it was generally at the most 2 days before, so you couldn't really plan ahead. Sometimes you got caught. They'd say, "Yep, we got a 2-to-1 for you at the studio," and it's for, they might have the artist or they might have the arranger and possible hour. So you'd say okay or no good. Sometimes you get caught, you'd be up all night and you get a call at like 2 in the morning and say, "Hey, can you be at the studio at 10 a.m.? So it was a little of everything. We'd be trying to play, but also it was nice to have the sessions to make a living. So yeah, we were doing a lot of free music. I didn't record a lot of that style until there's one record that I did with Liebman and the Manhattan School of Music where we recreated one of Train's free records with the orchestra, and I play a lot on that. I don't remember the name of which Train composition it was now. It was about 3 years ago.
Randy's got some homework to do, but before I let you go, I wanted to ask you about your gypsy Jewish roots and the original klezmer music. I mean, you're a Philadelphia cat.
Yeah.
We're a different generation, but I wanted you to talk about the original klezmer music that your grandparents possibly brought over from Russia, as opposed to, I mean, Terry Gibbs was talking about klezmer music of today. It's not real klezmer music. I just kind of wanted you to give the audience an idea of the kind of music, that improvisational gypsy music that came with the lineage of your ancestors.
Well, it's a good question. I can't say because my grandfather was all I can say was he came over they all came over when they were really young from Eastern Europe. He was from Russia. And he was he could belt it out. I left my heart in San Francisco, tunes like that. So I'm not sure what rubbed off, but I mean, just the fact that there was so much music. And my other grandfather, who was from, Jake was from, I think.
His name was Jake?
Yeah, Jack, we called him.
Jack,
Jacob Tukoski. He was from the Austria-Hungarian, somewhere in there. All these places the towns have long gone. And he was a violinist and he loved music. So there was just they brought whatever music they had over with them and it got transformed. But just the love of music was in our family kind of as deep as it could be, you know what I mean, with everyone.
Can you talk about the message that your brother would have to all us inspiring people? Your brother was in like a rock jazz band at a certain point in Chicago.
Right.
And then you saw him play and you guys were floored by it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, survival in this sort of age that is different than the age of Columbia. I mean, I was just transcribing today, you know, one of Bill Graham's main men, Jerry Pompili, discovers Eddie Money. Graham gets a 3-record deal from Columbia. Boom, they sell 1 million records. I mean, in this day and age, what is the advice that you get in your dreams from your brother?
Oh, well, you know, I get asked that, and people often ask me, what do you think he'd be doing? You know, he'd just say, keep playing, but he was so far ahead of everyone else with his love of world music, I think. He studied different styles. He was deeply into African music. the last thing he did was to delve into Bulgarian folk music and the whole lineage of virtuosic woodwind playing that goes through that. So I think, it's funny you mentioned it because I just dreamt of my other late friend Lou Soloff last night, but I often dream that I'm hanging with Mike. It's a strange thing. It feels like he's there.
I dig dreams, man. I mean, you dream about him often.
Yeah, I wouldn't say often, but every now and then he comes into the dream, and it's nice to see him. And or anyway, late friends, and he would just want me to be true to my heart and keep playing. He was a super honest. Everybody loved him who knew him, and people ask, what would he be doing now? And I can't answer that. He was so far ahead of the pack.
Would he be in academia?
That's a good question. Once again, I don't know. He was a good teacher. I think he probably, the way things move slower but quicker at the same time. I mean, there's nobody, he passed away over 10 years ago, and you can't say that anyone has gone farther on the saxophone than he did. There's some great players around it, and I know he influenced a lot. So it's a good question that I guess only the guy upstairs can answer, and we just have to ponder what he'd be doing now or what he'd want us to be doing. I don't think he'd be happy with the situation in America right now politically, I can tell you that.
Well, I know it's getting everybody down. One guy that is looking down on us right now, I can feel him, is Abercrombie. What in your mind, what was his friendship to you? What was the legacy of Abercrombie as a person, even more than a musician?
Well, he was always really soft-spoken, but at the same time was the funniest guy in the world. He could do imitations. His Julia Child's imitation was spotless. I have tapes of him scat singing like in a kind of, what kind of voice? I can't think of the word. But he could do great imitations with his voice. He was a hilarious guy, but he was the supreme melodicist, like Jim Hall. Never played an extra note, always thinking melodically and harmonically, and as a writer he was just a fantastic composer too, so we all miss him.
Randy, so great to see you, man. The first cat to put the wah-wah in effect on the trumpet. I'm going to say it here first. Thank you, brother. It was so good to hang with you, man.
Okay, thanks, Jake.
Peace.